What's up, everybody? It's your main man, Uncle D, coming to you once again, the Brick City Monk. Today, this conversation, I think this is a conversation that's been in my head for a minute, but what brought it up was a conversation that I had last night, actually, and then another one that I had this afternoon. Today was a wild day. Oh, and I had a pimple right here. Don't focus there. But I don't know if I ever told you. You know, there's always my friend off screen. You know, when my parents weren't married when I grew up. They were married and then they got divorced when I was very little. I think I was like 2. So I don't ever remember my father being in the house. So when I can't speak for anybody else, but growing up, because I did see other people who were married, obviously. And so I asked my parents, why did you get divorced? And my mother would tell me, you know, the adventures she had with my father. My father was a young man who was trying to juggle 2 women at the same time. And he had an addiction problem, and all that with the new babies was just a horrible combination. So, excuse me, that being said, I got to hear all that from my mother as the reasons why, you know, she and my father divorced. When I would ask my dad, when I would see him, he would always say, well, you know, we didn't love each other anymore. And for years growing up, that would be his only reply. No matter how many times I asked, no matter how many ways I phrased the question, that would be his stock response. Until I got to be what I call grown. I think I was over 40 at the time. I might have just turned 40 or something around there. Because for me, 40 was when the light switch came on, mentally. If you over 40, you know exactly what I'm talking about. 40 is when you don't even realize the fog that you are in your life until you hit your 40th year and things start to clear up. The fog starts to clear up and you start seeing things as they actually are. If you are watching this and you're not 40 yet, you have something to look forward to, I'm telling you, because it's a beautiful thing. And if you're over 40, I'm telling you, at 50 it gets even clearer. Keep on moving. So when I got over 40, I proposed the question to my father. Why did you get divorced? And I told him, I said, you know, all the time growing up, I would ask you, you gave us these, you know, flippant, we don't love each other answers. What really happened? And my father said this. He said, when we were married, your mother, what she did, she kept trying to get me to be like your grandfather. And I understand that. My mother grew up, her parents were together her entire life. They never ever divorced. They were together till death. And they grew up going to church and around family, and that was it. There was very little nefarious activity involved. There was something that my grandparents obviously didn't stand for. So my father, he came from a completely different background and trying to mold him into somebody was a little bit more than he could take. Now, the things that he did to my mother, does that excuse, in my mind anyway, does that excuse it? No, obviously not. But it did explain his behavior. So I was talking to a friend of mine last night, and she brought up a situation. She's talking to a guy. It's a new situation. And, you know, her parents are still married, have been married her entire life. They have like a wonderful type of romantic type of way that they met and everything. And I think in her heart, she knows what she said to me. I'm not going to think shit. What she said to me was, because my parents had that, I know that it is possible. So watching that type of love as you grow up it'll get you in tune with that, and you'll expect that. That's what you'll expect. That's what you want. Because it's been romanticized your whole life. Your parents' love story folding out in front of you, regardless of what other things may have happened in the background, that is the story that you kept being told and you told yourself your entire life. Listen to what I'm saying. So, she would like that to play out in her life is what I'm gathering. And the guy that she's seeing, she's, you know, She has a nesting mentality, and it's early in the relationship to me. And I'm like, what? In my head, I'm like, why are you even there yet? Like, why are you moving him in mentally? Is what I'm saying. Like, why? Because that's what she's setting herself up for. That's what she wants, obviously. And my thing, I told her what I just told you guys, my parents' story. And I said, my thing is, you have to let people get their own story. You really have to let people get you trying to put somebody in as a character in a story that's already played out, because that's what you're doing. When you try to mold your behavior after someone else's, what you're doing is you're placing a new character in a role that's already been played out. It's an old role. It's already been done. We're not here to do things over and over and over again. We are not here to repeat the things that our parents did. We don't have to do that. Is it something that you might want to do? Does it sound wonderful? Yeah, but you have to look at all the other fucked up things that can come with that. There's a lot that can come with that. Just because it begins wonderful does not mean that it ends wonderfully. It can start off romantically and end horrifically. And we sometimes take that for granted. I know we all want the fairy tale because we've been fed the fairy tale. We are constantly fed the fairy tale. And in this country in particular, I don't know where you might be watching this, but in this country, the United States of America in particular, the women here are taught from a very young age that they are to be mothers and they are to bear children. That is what you are here to do, period. You have to find some man who is going to make sure that your life is all right so that you can bear his kids. That protect, we could go into that again, because we think that men are protectors and men are not protectors. Men are not natural protectors. That's something that has to be taught to a man. Just because we are born with penises does not mean we know how to protect anything. Women are natural protectors. Naturally. Women will do it instinctively. Women do it instinctively. A woman doesn't have to be told. If a woman sees another woman in danger, it's more likely that a woman is going to jump in before a man is going to jump in. Women protect from the time of conception. That's when women begin protecting. Their body is a shield. They know it. And once the baby leaves, they continue to use their body as a shield. Oftentimes, transferring their immune system through milk to the child. That is protection. We forget about that. We don't count that. That's not what we're talking about. That is protection. You can't get that from the father the same way. Women instinctively do it more often. I was having a conversation earlier, and please know that when I am making these generalizations, because they are generalizations, that I am talking in a bell curve type of mentality. I am talking about the majority of people. I know that there are people on the fringes on either side of this argument who don't fit into what it is that I'm saying. There are women who are not natural protectors. I have one in my family who is not a natural protector. Her daughters were harmed by a man that she brought into their home. So I understand that as well. I don't know where that comes from. I haven't heard her story. I don't know her story. I don't know her full story. So I can't say why that is. What I do know is I see more women around me and in the world who protect. Simple, without a second thought. Women have protected me my entire life. I have been surrounded by and protected by women, and also victimized in some ways by women. So, like I said, on both sides of the argument, there are people who fall outside of what it is that I am saying, obviously. But again, There are things that we have been taught in society that should be, but nobody in society teaches the people in society that are supposed to do the thing that society says how to do it. They just tell you that you're supposed to do it. Nobody tells you how. We tell you plant food, but where do you plant it? If I were to tell you to ride a motorcycle, how do you ride it? You have to learn how to do that first. It's not something you can just jump on and do. It's the same way with protection and security. Men learn how to protect. Men learn how to secure. Because security is not just what they do with their bodies. It is what they do financially for their family. It is making sure that your family is well off. It's making sure that the generation that comes behind you does better than you. That is security. That is true security. That is generational security, teaching your children how to fare in this economic climate. Conversation that I was having earlier about children and bringing children into the world. And for those of you who watch anything that I do, you know I'm always talking about this because I don't understand what it is. People think we're supposed to proliferate in perpetuity ad nauseum. And I don't understand why the mentality for having kids hasn't changed to let me get my life right and then have kids so that when the kids get here, their life is better. I know that there, again, are some people who do that. I have a cousin. I love his life. I watch him build an empire for his children. I watch him be an example for his children of positivity. I watch him show his children through example and through his life what you can do with your information, with your body, with change, with some willingness, with some understanding, with some education. With some education outside of the educational system, reading books that aren't on a reading list, reading books that aren't prescribed for you, reading the books that nobody is telling you to read, finding out what it is that you need to read in order to be the best you that you can be. I've watched people do that. So it is possible. So the thinking around having children, because the mentality that we have, and you don't understand this, many of us, is given to you. I was having a conversation again earlier today. It was so frustrating. There was a conversation, it got to be about religion and having children, and all these things were wrapped up in this particular conversation I was having earlier. And the person that I was talking to said something to the effect of, well, you know, that's faith. You got to have faith. And faith is a word that is given to you, to us, so that we don't question shit and we look for the pie in the sky as opposed to looking for the reward that is here. Instead of demanding your birthright, you will wait till you die expecting to get a reward then. That is what that has taught us. That is what that has taught us. It has taught us to be docile until our last breath, hoping that afterward we will receive some reward and some heavenly something or other, as opposed to demanding what the fuck it is we should have right here and now. That's why we were given faith. Faith is evident. It tells you in the definition, is evidence of things not seen. What I would like us to do is look for the evidence more of the things that we don't understand. The same person that I was talking to in this particular conversation, I said, have you heard of quantum entanglement? Have you heard of quantum physics? I've heard of it, they said. You should learn more about it. I think you'll love it. If you believe in faith, quantum entanglement is going to tickle the shit out of you. Because it'll explain faith for you. It'll explain. See, there's a difference between faith and trust. I can trust what I know and I understand. Faith, again, is evidence of something that you have never seen before. That is the stupidest thing when there's evidence for most of the things that we experience. There is, you have to find it. You actually have to do some work and educate yourself. You might have to look for something. You might have to do a Google search or 3. But the answer is there, and too many of us walk around without looking for the answers. I asked the same person when they mentioned faith. I said, and we talk about all the time, the Nicene Council. I said, do you know what that is? They said, no, I've never heard of it. I said, that's where your faith word comes from. That's where they decided what that would be. what you would have faith in. That's what they decided at the Nicene Council. They decided all of those aspects of the things that you believe here and now. I said, do you know that the money that you pay into your Baptist church here, some of it still goes over to the Vatican? Do you also know that the Vatican it came from the Pope, the Papal Bull that was issued to enslave black people in perpetuity, meaning slavery has always existed in some shape, form, or fashion, because sometimes people owe debts and they would have to go in servitude to somebody to pay off their debt. So there has always been some type of system of that, but there was no enslaving your children and your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren and your entire lineage. There was none of that until the Vatican got involved, until the Pope wrote what was called the Papal Bull, which is an issue that said that we're going to do this, enslave them. When they found the Africans, the Pope issued the Papal Bull that said enslave them. So you get up and you go to church on Sunday and you put money into the coffers, and they send it over to the Vatican, the same people who enslaved you and who will not pay you reparations. These are the same people who let reparations go back to the white people who owned us, because they paid those people when they took the slaves away from them. They had to make them whole again. They paid for those slaves. Those white people were made whole again. They didn't lose shit, but we were never repaired. And we get up and we go every Sunday and put money into coffers that still contribute to the same system that did that. And we see nothing wrong with it. I told the person that I was speaking to, I almost said who it was. I told the person I was speaking to, I said, you need more information. It's difficult to have these conversations with you and you don't have enough information to converse with me. Because all I'm going to do is bring up point after point of things that you don't understand yet. It's difficult to keep doing that to people. It's very frustrating. Yeah. I'm sorry, I had to pause real quick. I know it don't look like it, but yeah, so we were just having the conversation, extending from this conversation about religion and things like that. And I know people are like, why are you always talking about this? Because I feel like it was like child abuse. No, I didn't grow up in a cult, but to me the Baptist religion is abusive.
By definition, the church is a cult. Let me pull it up.
Okay.
Let me pull up the definition.
But it wasn't what, you know, most people would call a cult, like I'm saying, like, but it was still, to me, it was way too much. And to raise children with the idea that there is a place of burning, waiting to burn them for eternity. To me, raising them with that idea in their head is the most abusive thing that you can do to a young mind anywhere. It's warping. You don't understand why these people in these high positions act the way they do, because they were raised with those types of ideologies. Y'all don't understand how, maybe you do understand, but we don't do enough about the fact that, like, again, from the conversation I was having earlier, I asked the person that I was speaking with, I said, she said, they said something to the effect of, you know, why does Congress, all these men making laws about women's bodies? I guess the person thought I was going to disagree. No, I completely agree with you. I don't understand why y'all go to work every day knowing that there are men legislating your bodies. I don't understand why you get up every day and contribute to a society where that is something that is possible to happen. Men who don't know pussy. These motherfuckers, you can look at them and tell they don't get no pussy, so they don't know shit about pussy or how fucking pussy works. So why would y'all allow these motherfuckers to make policy about your body? First of all, it's not their business. And the fact that the country still goes on every day like nothing is happening, I know that there are people out there fighting. I know that there are. There should be more. There should be a day where everybody stops every motherfucking thing. You all are 56% of the goddamn population here. You can shut shit down. But again, with the conversation, it's always the water in the boat that sinks it, because there are women who believe that that is the right thing to do still. There are women who agree with that ideology. There are women who agree with that whole right-wing moralist Christian bullshit that fucks up the country. And because most people they don't have access, they don't have the acumen, they don't have the will, they don't have, I don't know what it's called, they don't have the thing in them that tells them that there is more and that they should have it and they deserve it. They don't have that, so they don't go out and search for more answers. They don't go out and look for more answers about what the fuck life is about. And they keep the answers that were given to them and they perpetuate that. They give it to their children. And then you get these motherfuckers who get a little bit more education and end up in Congress or in the Senate or something like that, who were raised with that right-wing moralist Christian ideology. And now here they come. They've never met a black person in their goddamn life. Like for real. Like they might have shook in 1 or 2 hands at a rally or something like that. And now here they come making policy about you. Here they come making policy about you because we don't force education in this country. We do not force education in this country. The minute that we force education, there will be changes. The minute that you know what other communities are doing and understand why they are struggling the way that they are struggling, there'll be change in this country. The minute you begin to understand why people of color have the atrocities committed against them that we have, how the atrocities that are committed are codified, how the atrocities that are committed are part of the law that we have to restructure. It has to be torn down and redone. There's no other way to do it. There's no fixing it from the system that we have now. The fact that people think that that is a possibility is weird to me. You can't fix a system that wasn't designed for you. You can't make it work in your favor when it was never designed to work in your favor. That's not something that can happen. You can't make a square peg go round. You can't. You cannot do that. It's a square peg. It's not going to go around. You have to take and go back to the mold and you have to start the fuck again. So many people are scared about ideas like that. They don't want to talk about ideas because they feel like it's anarchy. We're tearing down the country. No, you're making the country better. You're making it inclusive for the people who live here. You're taking the targets off of our backs by doing so. How does all this mesh together? Because we still bring children into this society and we haven't got this shit fixed yet. In what world does that make sense? That's child abuse. To bring somebody into, okay, so the person that I was speaking to, and I get it, they said that's not everybody's experience. Everybody, you don't know what's going to happen. Right. There are always going to be people who fall outside of the bell curve. There are always going to be people right here on the fringes who do not fit in the definition. That is not who we're talking about. We're talking about people in the swell of the bell. We're talking about the people right here. We're talking about the large majority of motherfuckers who are uneducated, who do not seek to educate themselves beyond what it takes to do their job every day, who sit and listen to news that is propaganda on repeat and watch shows that teach you that you are never going to have enough, so that you are always in the spirit of desperation and deficit, and you hang around people who can't help you. And we call that life. That's what we call a life. We don't want to flip the table. We don't want to upset the apple cart. We don't want to be disrespectful by doing something different. No, this is tradition. No, this is our culture. If it doesn't work, get rid of it. Religion, parents, children, job, husband, wife, whatever the fuck doesn't work, get rid of it. One of the things that I hate that we have been taught in this country, and I don't know about any other country, is we are taught that we're supposed to hang on to people forever. If you get into a relationship, your relationship is supposed to last until you die. Every relationship is supposed to be the one. Every single one of them. This is the one. I'm getting married. I'm going to live with this person till the end of time. We're not taught that you are going to meet many people in your life. And as you change as a person, you are going to require other people around you who fit in with the new changes. And sometimes the people who are already in your life don't want to go in the same direction as you. And they don't have to. It is their life. They get to do what they want to do. And letting go of that relationship is not failure. It is progress. We don't do that. We beat ourselves up when a relationship ends. We try to hold on and keep people hostage to us. We guilt them into staying with us. We try to trap them in different ways, mentally and emotionally. Some even suffer physical intimidation to stay in a relationship. Why? Why? The United States, from the time I was a child until now, we've gone from 220 million to over 330 million people. That's a lot of people to me. That's a lot of hope. That is a lot of understanding out there. That is a lot of sharing out there. There's a lot of love out there. We keep thinking, oh, everybody's fucked up. It's not that everybody's fucked up. You haven't met the right motherfucker. Get your mind right so that that person can come into your life. That's not something that we're taught. I was talking to someone again earlier today. The same person I was talking to, we were talking about their kids. One of their kids wanting to go to, the kid was in school and then had to leave because of they couldn't afford it. Like there was tuition that they just couldn't pay. And so the kid came home and got a job and was going to go back. But, you know, once you start working, it's a wrap. So the kid's parents said, well, why don't you, you know, go to school and work? You could go to school part-time or whatever, because you got to bring your GPA up in order to get better financial aid for the following year. Oh, it's too hard. I can't work. I can't work and go to school. That's too much. Then came back. Now you're trying to work 2 jobs. How is going to school and working too much, but you can work 2? The information we have is sour. The information we have is sour. I'm not sure why he has that mode of thinking, but the thing is, he's not out thinking anybody but himself. Because it's his life that's going to suffer as a result of him trying to outsmart everybody else when it's his life. We're trying to help you decide what to do with your life. We're trying to give you the benefit of the information that we have so that you don't have to do the same things that we did. But you trying to outsmart everybody. Good luck with that, young man. Good luck with that. I don't know if I was... Thank you. I forget who I was, no, I was watching something, I forget, TikTok or something, and I'm not sure if I mentioned this the last time that I did a podcast, but there was a conversation, and the conversation was about parents being their kid's friend. And the person who was speaking said, yeah, I'm friends with my kids. And I was, you know, let me tune in. What? You're friends with your kids? Because that's not what I grew up with. I did not grow up with me and my parents being friends. I was told definitively that we are not friends. But then the person who was speaking said something really poignant. They said, because I'm my kid's friend because kids talk to their friends. Real simple. The simplest thing that I had heard that made the most sense in my entire life. Kids talk to their friends. They don't talk to their parents. Not about anything that matters. Flip my whole understanding of what it could be to be a parent upside down and put it on its head. Because if you grew up like me, your parents told you, I'm not one of your little friends. And you understood, okay, well, we ain't friends, so you told your friends all the things that mattered. You told your girlfriends, or you told your boys. You told them. You didn't come home and tell your parents when there were things that bothered you emotionally that you couldn't handle. When you started getting active sexually. When the first boy or girl broke your heart. Because your parent isn't your friend. We have to rethink the see again. why are we out here loosely having children to feed into a system when we don't even have better information to give them? And we have been taught that we're supposed to just have children to endure to the end of time, I guess. That's the weirdest shit I've fucking heard in my life. So you want to bring children here to endure this existence that you hate already and you struggle with every day. That's what you want to do. You don't want to take all the time that you can to better yourself. And you know what the person said to me? You and I were having this conversation before. Women have a biological clock. There's only a certain amount of time. See, they can't put off having kids. Yes, you can. See, what we don't understand sometimes is your body is your body. I've watched a set, and I know that it takes some money to do what some of these stars are doing at 50 years old, having their first kid. Yeah, I know that's a medical miracle that they paid a whole bunch of money to make that happen. But it's not completely impossible. Not that you should start having kids at 50. Maybe you should just make your life better until 30. Maybe you should dump all your concentration into making sure that your life is the shit, so that when you bring a kid here, they don't have to experience the hardships that you did. Maybe that. Because think about it, in your life right now, the 22-year-old or anybody from the age of 20 to 25 that you know right now who doesn't have a kid, do they seem responsible enough to cultivate a life to you? I'll wait. You probably looking like, oh God, I hope they don't have, Jesus Christ. That's probably why most of you keep, when your kids start having kids, you still got the kid here in your house with the kid. Because you know that it's that tough. You know that it's that horrible. You know that this kid is not ready for this life because you wasn't ready. You know that already. You know that. You know good and goddamn well that this kid has no business raising this young life. You know that. But we think that you got to hurry up and get it out the way because that's what we've been taught. We don't understand that your programming in the background is running so deep that you don't even understand that you need to put your life together first. What are you bringing your kids here for? To shove them into the public educational system so that they can become the same type of chattel that you have been? To work in some sort of civil service job for 20 to 35 years, to draw a pension, to live a measly life, traveling back and forth from an island ever so often? To the house that is over mortgaged, overpaid for, it still has leaks? There's a better way to live. There's a better way to exist. We have to know that we can achieve that. And I'm not saying that children are a hindrance. What I'm saying is you can go ahead and make that life and prepare it for your child. You want heaven? Make sure that your life is heaven before your kid gets here, so that when your child comes into the world, they come into heaven. I'm sorry, did I just fuck you up real quick? Has it ever dawned on you to bring your kids into heaven? Has it? We have to think better. I say that all the time. We have to think better. Stop letting the programming in the background run you. Stop letting that program run you in the background. Make sure that these kids have a better toolkit than you had. It's not necessary to proliferate. Let me stop using that word because I'm not even sure if I'm using it correctly. It's not necessary. I don't even understand why we think having kids is a necessity. It is truly a hardship in today. If your kids are grown already, you know, but today, it's a hardship. You can't even tell if baby formula is safe to feed your kid. And nobody taught you how to grow fruit on the vine and get it mashed up and to feed a baby. Rethink life. Life is not, it doesn't have to be the thing that you watched your grandparents and your parents do. It can be a completely wonderful new thing that looks nothing like your parents' life. like I said at the beginning of this whole podcast, people have to get their own story. When I was in high school, I think there may have been 6.5 billion people in the world. We are now at over 8 billion. There's a lot to experience. People are coming up. The more people that we add to the world number, the more ideas come into existence. The more opportunities flow for everybody. The more things we can do, the more things we can understand. And understanding is at an all-time high right now in our reality. We have access to information like we have never had before. And the greatest trick that white people have taught black people is to not research. That's the greatest trick they've taught us, is to not do any research. We wait for somebody to tell us the news. The other thing that we haven't learned in our course, in the course of our education, particularly if you went to a public education system, we didn't learn how to do proper research. Because the thing, well, some of us did. We grew up and we learned how to research something and research the people who did the research. And now, see, this is something new, and this came to me earlier today. This is really kind of like the first time in history where people print things completely wrong, not incorrect, like deceptively, complete, like on a scale. Like this is a mass scale. Misinformation is flowing in ways that we have never seen before. So you have to be vigilant with the information that you have. If you are praising something, if you are dedicating your time and your energy, your resources, your finances to a source or a cause, and you haven't researched that, you are peddling your own oppression. You get up and you give money to the same people who oppressed your ancestors. You are peddling your own oppression. You are getting up and you are giving money to the same people who will not repair you generationally. You are peddling your own oppression. For any type of religion or system of thought, if you think that that thing is so wonderful, don't be afraid to research it. I have been through a couple of religions in my life because I decided to do the research. When one didn't work, I started researching another one that gave me some peace at the time. At the time, it did the job that it was supposed to do. And after that, after it stopped serving its purpose, I stopped serving it. I'm only going to do what serves me. I am not going to do things because they have become part of what it is that I do day in and day out. If it doesn't serve me, it is not going to be in my life anymore. One of my friends came over to where I live and looked around and was like, oh my God, I remember where you lived before. You got rid of a lot of stuff. You goddamn right. You goddamn right. I got rid of anything that I don't need, that doesn't serve me, that I haven't used in a year. If I'm not using it, it's taking up space, it's getting the f out of my house. I'm not doing it. We hold on to too much stuff. Physically, emotionally, mentally, we hold on to too much stuff. I have a relative of mine who must be in her 80s and has these steamer trunks that she has been dragging around across the country from one coast to the other for the past 30 years. I fucking refuse. I am too blessed to think that I need to carry around shit from 30 years ago that I'm not going to be able to replace whatever it is or have what I need. I don't serve anything that doesn't give me what I need. So I'm never without. Ever. What I serve serves me well. So don't be afraid to do some research. First of all, learn how to do good research. Because everybody's information isn't accurate and correct. And it's not that people sometimes are trying to be deceptive. They just don't have that much information. And there's this... Okay, so for those people in academia who know this, who know the, I think it's the Dunning-Kepler effect. If you know what I'm talking about, you know. If I'm explaining it correctly, as you begin to research information, the more information you begin to know, You reach a peak where you think you know a lot, but if you push past the peak, you really realize that you don't know anything. We have to push past the peak. That point of information that we are comfortable with whatever genre in your life it is. If it's your religion, if it's your relationships, whatever it is, do the research. Don't be afraid to push past that comfortable point of information, because that is where your freedom is going to go. Your freedom is going to come when you realize you really don't know shit, that you have just begun the journey of learning, regardless of how old you are, that there is still so much more to absorb. And don't be afraid to do it. It's not going to consume your life. You'll be all right. But you'll have better information for your children, so that we can stop doing these things over and over again for no reason. The pursuit of mediocrity is really unnecessary. The pursuit of mediocrity is unnecessary. It don't take nothing to be mediocre. And some of us pursue it really, really hard. We're going to get these degrees and these PhDs, and we still don't know as much as we think we know. I understand that those are achievements, and I'm not knocking your achievements. What I'm saying is that's information in one sphere that you have studied. There's a lot more to life. Make sure that you have balance. Don't be so knowing on this side that you have left this side. You have to. You have to. I'm gonna leave y'all with this, because I don't want to talk too long. I've really said everything it is that I had to say. But I was saying this in a conversation I had earlier, and I think I was just saying it to you. Shonda Rhimes in the interview, and I'm paraphrasing what she said, but she said something to the effect of, people were praising her for being a great mother and a great producer and, a writer and all these things, and asked her, how do you do all of it? And she said, when I'm being a great mother, I'm being a horrible producer. When I'm being a great writer, I'm not being a great mother. You're not going to be great at everything all the time. You're not. What we have to do is find balance. And that's what most of us feel, that feeling, that underlying feeling in your life that of dissatisfaction, and you don't understand where it's coming from, is because you are out of balance. I feel it. I know I felt it. I know you feel it. That underlying feeling of dissatisfaction in your life is because you are out of balance. There are things in your life that you have not attended to that are stacking up, and you haven't pushed them down. There are social issues that you haven't addressed. There's education issues with your children that you haven't addressed. There's relationship issues that you haven't addressed. There's your own personal satisfaction that you haven't addressed. There's your health issues that you haven't addressed. You're out of balance. It's a short journey to get back in, though. Don't fret. We here together. We're gonna do this together. So y'all been rocking with me this whole time. I thank y'all for watching. I love you for listening. Please, if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe, and you can email me at imrealdvs@gmail.com if you have any questions or any conversations that you would like me to cover. We could go over it. Just send me an email, let me know. If you like the video, you can hit the like button, and if you want to leave a comment about anything that I said, because I come back and read the comments, please feel free to do so. I will see you next time right here. That's what I just did. What? Yeah, that's what I was just doing. You see that? That's terrible. Anyway, yeah. Again, I'll do it again just to make sure. The email address is imrealdvs@gmail.com, just to make sure. So if you have any questions or comments, or you just don't want to put it public, you can go ahead and send it to me at my email, okay? And I thank you for joining me once again right here. It's Uncle D, the Brick City Monk. I'll see you next time. Oh, and just so that we're all on the same page, unity isn't, or peace is never apart, it's together. I'm sorry, I gotta do better. Because we were talking about the movie Watchmen. And in Watchmen, I forget the guy, Osmandius, Ozzy something. And he was the smartest guy on earth. And I remember in Watchmen, he would take all of the sperm that he would, after he, I guess, masturbated or whatever, he would take the sperm and he kept it frozen in vials. And somebody stole the sperm and created the smartest woman on earth. Sex is used in our society and in the media to keep us always with that on our mind. We are supposed to constantly think about sex. It is supposed to be that you have sex and have a kid at 19 and 20. They want you to do that. There are people who benefit from that greatly. Remember, I don't know what you know about, like, I've heard of the Sustain accounts and things like that, like the accounts that are attached to birth certificates, which is why they have serial numbers at the bottom, because they belong to banking accounts. So every time a baby is born, there's a new account created. There's more money that somebody is getting. It's not coming to you, though. It's not coming to you. It doesn't benefit you or your kid. So you have to wonder, why is it that they keep showing all these images? Why do they benefit? What is the benefit of them constantly bombarding us mentally with these images? Sex is everywhere. You can't be a female rapper without showing your body. You name one. Only one I remember who did it like kind of successfully was Queen Latifah, and after that she had to move into the movies. Missy Elliott, yeah, she actually did it too. There's a few of them, but they are also rumored to be lesbian. I don't know if that's true or not. That's alleged. I don't know those people personally, but yeah. So that is a different kind of take on that. There's always somebody outside of the bell curve. But sex is the weapon that they use to keep us continually. You have to ask yourself at some point, why have to, like, they have made it into a fairy tale of having kids. Like, you're gonna have these kids and it's gonna be so wonderful. And even a conversation that I was having earlier, the person said, well, who's gonna take over and help out when we get older? Why isn't our mentality that we are able to take care of ourselves until we die? That's part of the sickness of it. Is that they make you think that when you get old you have to get feeble and that you will need somebody to take care of you, so you live your life accordingly. You eat Burger King and Popeyes and fast food, and you never join a gym, you never exercise, you only chase your children around, and that's only for the first couple of years of their life. Then you make them do everything so that you don't have to move any further, and now you have a triple bypass at 48 years old. I'm telling you what I know. I'm telling you what I know. I'm telling you what just happened this week. So, again, sex is the thing. And I could be going way left here, but, like, you know, a friend of mine passed, and I was saying I didn't put up the video where I was talking about her because it was a little just too personal. But I think that part of what my friend missed in her life that ended her life early was love. Because when you're taught a fairy tale and you depend on that fairy tale, when you depend on the fairy tale and the fairy tale ends, what do with the rest of your life? You keep searching for the fairy tale again. That's what we're taught to do. We keep searching for that fairy tale regardless of what happens. We keep searching for that fairy tale, and unfortunately that can lead you to death, I think. I may be wrong, but I guess time will tell. We're finding out new things every day, so be mindful. Ask yourself questions. Don't be afraid to ask yourself some questions and get with, why do you do some of the things that you do? We don't ask those types of questions to ourselves enough. Why? What is it about having a kid that has made your life so much better? Could you have not made your life better without one? Could you have made other people's life better had you not had kids? I know I have. If I had kids, I would not have been able to do half the things that I've been able to do with and for people. Because my focus would have been on my children. So I don't mind. I think we've been taught that people who don't have children in our society are a deficit, or feel, and we've been made, many people in society who don't have children are made to feel like they are deficient, which is unfortunate, because most of the people I know who don't have kids add to society in more ways than the people who have kids. They're more community minded. They're more community orientated. They work in jobs that help children. Most of the people that I know anyway. And that's often the case. You find people who don't have children who dedicate their lives to working in service. So there is a place for everything, and we need to remember that as we begin to deconstruct, because that's what this is. This is deconstruction. We're going to deconstruct the ideas that we have been given as a matter of course. We're going to deconstruct the programming. We're going to take a look at it. We're going to learn how to take a look at it. Because we don't have to be uneducated in our society today. Anything that you want, if you're watching this on any smart device, you can use that same device to find out how your religion was started. You can use that same device to find out how your government has codified keeping you oppressed. Because it's all there. Anything that your parents taught you that you did not understand or think was incorrect, you can now look up and find out. There was a time when I was growing up where that was a task to do. To find out information, you had to physically leave your house. Oftentimes, if you didn't have a set of encyclopedias in your house, and even if you had the set of encyclopedias, oftentimes it was missing information, and we all know that it was propagandized information anyway now. So finding out information is easier than ever, but they keep us locked and loaded on sex and music and entertainment. And I'm a victim as well, but if you are going to take that route, at least be selective. Make sure that the things that you are watching are things that are adding to your experience in ways that are going to lift you or put you closer to where you would like to be. At least do that. Don't just let anything come on the radio and you listen to it. Don't just let anything come on television and you watch it. Don't just let anybody walk up and say things to you and you listen. There's so much more to understand in this life. We can do better. We've got to do better. We can do better. We will do better. Together, we can do better. It's worth it to do better. Particularly for those of you who have grandchildren and, you know, have already imparted ideas that you aren't sure of to your kids. It's not too late to sit down and have conversations. This could be the new culture. The new culture should be parents sitting down with adult kids having conversations. That should be the new culture. The new culture should be parents being friends with their children. That should be the new culture. The new culture should be educating your kids at home. Even if they have to go to school because it's the law, that's part of the slavery system that we still have here in effect, because they're going to make you go to learn what it is they want to teach you. There should be education at home, but most of us don't have the education at home to continue to give to our kids. So it starts with you. It has to begin with you. The conversation I had earlier, and I really am going to end this time. The conversation I had earlier was one of the most frustrating, because the person that I was talking to was so sure of the information she had. When we're so sure in our ignorance, it makes it difficult to change. You can't be certain in ignorance. And here's the thing, all of us are ignorant. We are woefully ignorant. That's why we still have those isms. That's why we have racism and sexism and stuff, because we're ignorant. It's not because people are hateful or anything like that. It's because we're ignorant. We don't teach in our society well. We don't educate well. There are other countries that do it so much better. We know that they do it better, and we still do nothing. We have Congress in session over drag queens and trans kids and women's reproductive organs, as opposed to building a better infrastructure and educational system that'll make it so that people don't have poor health, so that they aren't dependent on petrolated drugs. We could do that, but we don't. And we have to ask ourselves why. Not only do we have to ask ourselves why, we have to begin to demand that it change. We have to begin to demand that it change. And in demanding that it change, you have to change. You can't demand somebody else change and you stay the same. It begins and ends with you. Just like it begins and ends with me. There's one thing that I'm really grateful that I learned how to do in my life. And that is take responsibility for what I know and what I don't know. In doing so, you learn how to be humble. In doing so, you learn patience. In doing so, you can learn how somebody of another culture has lived an entire life and never come in contact with your people. So we're going to do better. And it's getting dark, so I'm going to go ahead and shut this down. Once again, the email address is imrealdbs@gmail.com. Hit the like button. Go ahead and leave any comments. And make sure you share the video. That's what I would really, really like you to do. Share the video. If you belong to a group where there is conscious talk, share the video. So